I got engaged and kept my $1,200,000 estate hidden, just in case. 2 days after the wedding, my family forged my future, so I locked every door. Yet the fallout was only beginning. Not 2 days after the wedding, I had just gotten back from a quiet dinner with Emma, the kind of evening you have when the adrenaline has finally worn off and you can breathe again. We were unpacking boxes, folding towels, arguing about where the mug should go. Then came the knock. It was my sister. She was smiling like she'd already won. Dad stood beside her, silent. He always did his damage through omission. "Hey," she said too brightly, "we just wanted to swing by real quick. Oh, and Mom said you'd agree, so we went ahead and signed the house into my name." She held out a set of documents like it was a birthday card. I looked down. My name wasn't there. Not once. The estate, the one I'd kept under wraps, the one I'd inherited but never flaunted, was now titled to her. "Mom said you'd agree," she repeated as if saying it again made it real. I didn't shout, didn't argue. I just blinked once, looked at both of them and said I never said yes. Then I closed the door. I didn't even stay in the room long enough to see if they knocked again. I didn't care. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed my laptop, and sat down with the kind of stillness you get only when your body goes colder than your thoughts. The first thing I did was log into the estate account, then the bank, then the title office's online portal. Step by step, I clarified access rights through the proper channels. The security firm got an alert. So did the lawyer I'd quietly kept on retainer. A formal clarification letter was sent that night. By morning, I was getting motion alerts on the front gate. They were back holding boxes, crying. But I didn't open the door because in that moment something shifted. I wasn't shocked, not really. I was disappointed, yes, but more than that, I was done. I had come into this marriage thinking maybe now finally they'd respect the boundary between love and leverage. But this was proof they saw me not as a brother, not as a son, but as a resource. They made their move, and I made mine. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was angry, but because my brain wouldn't stop showing me everything at once. It started with that phrase, "Mom said you'd agree." 4 words, 4 detonators. I stared at the ceiling while Emma slept, and one by one memories started flooding in. All tethered to that same logic. Not logic, really. Assumption, entitlement, manipulation, dressed as family. When I was 12, I paid for a pizza with my saved-up allowance because Dad forgot his wallet. He never paid me back. At 16, I helped my sister fake a project so she could graduate. She never said thank you. At 24, I took a second job to help Mom cover her medical bills, only to find out she'd spent half of it on a spa retreat. And the worst part, I said nothing. I swallowed it each time, thinking it's just what you do for family. They'll see it someday, but they didn't. They saw a pattern, a loophole, a system they could exploit. I remembered the first time I was used, truly used, like infrastructure, like a walking account number. It was during Dad's business downturn. I offered to help reorganize his files just to keep him afloat. 3 weeks later, my name appeared on a loan application I never signed. When I confronted him, he laughed. "You've always had good credit," he said like that explained everything. That night, I checked my own report. He had used it 5 times, all just to float something short-term, all unpaid. I remembered how my sister once asked for just a temporary login to one of my business tools, said it was for her freelance work. I gave it to her. She sold it. She sold access to my private platform for $600 to someone I'd never met. I found out only when I was locked out of my own dashboard. I confronted her. She smiled and said, "It was just sitting there. You weren't using it. Just sitting there. Like my presence at holidays. Like my name on the deed. Like the $1.2 million estate I never once lorded over them." They didn't see me as a person. They saw opportunity. An open gate. Emma once asked me months before the wedding if I trusted them. I remember pausing too long before saying yes. She looked at me and said, "You don't trust them. You just feel responsible for them." And she was right. It all clicked piece by piece. The jokes about me being the family wallet. The subtle cuts like when Mom said at brunch, "We're just trying to be nice, including you. You don't think you matter." And everyone laughed like it was clever. The house, that was the final chess piece. They thought I wouldn't fight, that I'd shrug and say, "Okay," because I always had, because they'd trained me to. But what they didn't realize was that the silence they interpreted as weakness, that was the foundation of something far more dangerous. Awareness. I wasn't blind anymore. I wasn't soft. I was watching the pattern form in high resolution. Mom never asked. She declared. Dad never defended. He disappeared. My sister never explained. She benefited. and every time I gave it took like it was owed. I remember being 8 years old, standing at the kitchen counter while Mom whispered to Dad, "He won't say no. He's easy." I wasn't even in the room in their minds. I was a tool, a default yes. And now they put my name on something I hadn't touched, called it family business, signed something without discussing it with me, but they forgot something. I wasn't the 8-year-old anymore. I wasn't the fixer, the helper, the backup plan. I was a man with a deed. A man who'd built a firewall around his future. A man who'd watched quietly for over 2 decades and finally saw the game for what it was. They expected silence. What they got was clarity. And I had just begun designing the collapse. They thought the signature meant victory. They thought I'd wake up, see the documents, and fold the way I always did. I didn't. I woke up early before sunrise. Sat on the edge of the bed, letting the numbers cycle through my mind. 1.2 million, one estate, 6 attempts to take what wasn't theirs, and 1 final shutdown. By 6 a.m., I was logged in. My desktop looked like a war room. Financial dashboards, ownership documents, recorded phone calls, time-stamped text messages. The first thing I did was lock the deed, not just legally, but digitally. I rerouted all notifications to a secure legal channel. Any changes, any access attempts would trigger alerts. Next came the trust account. I had created it before the engagement after I noticed my sister snooping through a drawer marked personal. The trust was split 3 ways: estate maintenance, emergency buffer, and discretionary support. All invisible, all under my control. I revoked discretionary access. My lawyer got the ping and confirmed it within 20 minutes. Then I went deeper. The phone lines they were using still under the family plan I paid for. I didn't cancel them. I reassigned ownership. Gave them 72 hours to accept the transfer or lose service entirely. My dad's car registered to me. A gift, yes, but with strings. That afternoon, I called the DMV, contacted the registry to correct ownership details, and scheduled the pickup with the tow company. Not out of spite, out of precision. They had declared open season on my life. Now I was locking the gates. Emma walked in while I was on hold with the cloud service provider. She said nothing at first, just placed a coffee next to me, glanced at the screen, and asked, "Do they know what's coming?" "No," I said. "They really don't." By noon, the revocation letters were sent. Bank access revoked, joint card frozen. I sent a final email to my CPA to confirm. No signatures from anyone but me were to be honored going forward. Period. I also uploaded 1 final clause to the estate's operating agreement. Anyone who attempts to transfer title fraudulently is permanently disqualified from future trust distributions. At 2:13 p.m., I sent my sister a single message. "You forged a future you were never entitled to. It ends today." Then I logged out. That night, they came back, boxes in hand, eyes red. My sister's voice was softer now. "We didn't mean anything by it," she said. "Mom thought you'd be okay with it. You weren't using the house anyway." That sentence, "You weren't using the house anyway." I opened the front door halfway, just enough for them to see my face, but not step inside. "It wasn't about the house," I said. "It was about how certain you were that I'd never say no." My dad stepped forward. "Let's talk inside." "No," I said, "we talk here." My sister set down one of the boxes. "We packed up our stuff. We're sorry." "Okay, we shouldn't have." I cut her off. "It's already with the lawyers." "Everything. You call the lawyer." She snapped. "This is family." "Exactly," I said. "And family doesn't forge documents. Family doesn't assume ownership. Family doesn't erase someone then cry at the gate." Silence. Then Dad did what he always does. Tried to flip the tone. "You're overreacting. We didn't take anything. The title hasn't processed yet." "You're right," I said. "Because I stopped it. I could see it land, the first real hit, the moment they realized they had underestimated me. For years I let them believe I was the generous one, the quiet one, the fix-it guy. But I wasn't generous. I was strategic. And now the open support had come to an end. The next morning, I logged into my private records archive and finalized the sequence. 3 letters, 1 to the estate attorney, 1 to the compliance division of the title office, and 1 to the local financial review board, flagging the attempt for a potential fraud investigation. Emma read each one before I sent them. "They won't come back from this," she said. "I'm not asking them to," I replied. By Thursday, the estate was triple locked. My accounts were secure. Every asset I once gave them access to was out of reach. But I wasn't done. I contacted the private foundation that had been covering some of Mom's medications through my referral. I rescinded the support kindly, legally, formally. The email was polite. The impact wouldn't be. That afternoon, I drove to the property, walked through it alone, stood in the hallway where we used to hang childhood drawings. They were gone now, replaced with silence. I opened the security app, wiped their access from the smart lock, then I changed the code. I left through the front door, turned around and watched it close, and it was done. No rage, no theatrics, just reset. I knew they'd come undone. I just didn't expect it to be so fast or so loud. It started with silence just long enough to make me think maybe, just maybe, they were absorbing the blow. But by the next morning, my phone was buzzing like a broken alarm. 17 missed calls, 9 voicemails, all from home. A name I hadn't updated in years. I didn't listen. I forwarded the first voicemail to my lawyer. Then I turned on airplane mode and went back to breakfast. Emma watched me chew like I was waiting for something to explode. "Do you think they'll show up again?" I nodded. They don't know any other play. At 3:04 p.m., they came. Same street, same driveway, same fake humility in their posture. My dad stood with arms crossed, less like a father and more like a disappointed foreman. My sister paced in front of the gate, phone in hand, filming herself. I assumed it would end up on Facebook with some caption like, "You never know how cold someone is until you see them stop loving you." I watched from upstairs. I didn't move. Then came the shouting. My sister started first, loud, unhinged. "You really think this is going to work? You think you're going to freeze us out and look like the victim?" She threw something at the gate, a manila folder. It flopped onto the ground like a failed protest sign. "You can't do this to your family!" she screamed. I opened the window slightly and replied with one sentence, "I didn't do this. You did!" That lit the fuse. Dad stepped in. "This isn't over. You don't get to just lock us out and pretend like you're clean." He was trembling, not with sadness, but with rage. Not the kind that comes from heartbreak, the kind that comes from losing control. He shouted things I hadn't heard from him since I was 13 and forgot to mow the lawn. "You think you can treat me like I don't matter?" he spat. "You think because you've got money you can treat us like garbage? You owe us." Those 3 words, "You owe us." Emma appeared at the doorway behind me. "Do they think this is helping their case?" "They think volume equals power," I said. They didn't see I had already moved on. At 6:12 p.m., the email started. The first was from Mom's account. The subject line, "Let's be reasonable." I didn't even open it. The preview said enough, "It's not too late to fix this before lawyers get involved." Too late. I forwarded it to my attorney. The second email came 10 minutes later from my dad's work account. A PDF attachment, "Cease and desist." I laughed. They really tried to flip the script. Accused me of causing emotional harm, denying rightful access to jointly used assets, and my favorite, unlawful revocation of shared family property. It read like a sitcom written by someone who thought drama was the same thing as logic. My reply, I didn't send one. Instead, I drafted a response through my lawyer. 3 pages attached every legal document proving sole ownership. Included screenshots, login records, even a time-stamped photo of the property key handover from 2 years ago. We attached a closing paragraph. Your client has no legal claim. Any further harassment will result in further steps would be taken through legal consultation. This is your formal communication has been issued. By Friday, they lost the mask entirely. My sister went on Instagram Live. I knew she would. She cried on camera, talked about betrayal, said she'd never felt so heartbroken, claimed she was being punished for being close to our parents. Her followers ate it up. Comments filled with emojis and "Stay strong, Queen." But I wasn't watching for drama. I was watching for mistakes. She made one. She accidentally flipped the camera during the live, showed the inside of my father's office, specifically the desk drawer where we'd kept the emergency binder, the one with all my account passwords, the one I locked and removed last year, only they didn't know I'd taken it. My lawyer flagged it, said if they touched anything, if they tried to impersonate me online, we could escalate to criminal charges. So, we waited. It didn't take long. Sunday afternoon, my bank flagged a login attempt from an unrecognized device using an old recovery email tied to my dad's ISP. 2 minutes later, an attempt to access my digital trust dashboard failed. I locked everything again, reported the incident to the appropriate service provider, sent it to the same legal team I put on retainer 3 years ago. This time, we attached a criminal cyber investigation trigger. At 10:27 p.m., Mom sent a text, just 3 words. "What have you done?" I didn't reply. On Monday, it escalated again. A cousin called, one of the few I still liked. "Hey," she said carefully, Your mom's saying you've gone off the rails, that you're destroying the family. I just said she destroyed it. I just turned the lights on. That night, the group chat exploded. Apparently, my sister had sent screenshots of our estate documents to extended family trying to spin the story. Claimed I'd stolen shared wealth, claimed I was emotionally unstable, even sent a cropped email from me, one she'd clearly altered. But she wasn't smart enough to crop the timestamp. The real version existed and my lawyer had it. We compiled everything: falsification, slander, illegal access attempts. We sent a formal notice. Any further public defamation will result in a lawsuit. You have 72 hours to retract all statements and issue written apologies, or we file. That night, my dad texted again, just one line. You're turning your back on blood. My reply? I'm stepping away from those who only took. The next morning, Emma and I went out for breakfast. A quiet diner. No phones, no noise, just sunlight and pancakes. I looked at her and said, I think the storm's almost over. She smiled. No, it's just moving over their house now. They shaped a version. I shared the truth. It started with a whisper campaign. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly sent messages like, I heard things got complicated, but maybe you should call your mom. Even one of my old high school friends texted, your sister posted something really off. Are you okay? That's when I knew the shift had begun. They weren't content with guilt. Now they wanted narrative, to burn my name before I could speak. My sister was posting cryptic stories, black screen, white text. Some people turned their back on the ones who raised them. You think you know someone? Mom posted an old photo of the five of us. Captioned, Before money changed everything. A flood of sympathy emojis rolled in and Karen wrote, You were such a close family. So sad to see it fall apart. That's when I stopped playing defense. The next morning, I emailed every cousin, every relative, every mutual contact that had been pulled into their spin cycle. I didn't rant. I didn't accuse. I attached a PDF, 14 pages, timestamps, screenshots, bank transfers, legal documentation, a timeline of events, and one message at the top. You're free to believe what you want. But this is what actually happened. I didn't explain anything beyond that. Just signed it with my name and let the silence do its work. It didn't take long. By noon, 2 cousins replied. I had no idea. One of them even forwarded me a private message my sister sent, asking them to ignore whatever Mike says. He's spinning it. That one got flagged and passed to my attorney. At 3:42 p.m., I got an unexpected call from an old manager of my sister's. I hadn't spoken to her in years. She said, I know this is awkward, but she listed you as a professional reference. And after reading what's floating around online, she trailed off. I didn't rescue her. I just said I'd be careful, putting anything in writing on her behalf. By 5 p.m., I was on the phone with the family's old accountant, the one I looped back in after finding the forged paperwork. He said quietly, They're cracking. Mike, you were right. There are gaps in every story they told in the digital logs you provided. Devastating. He paused. You want to press charges yet? I didn't answer right away because this wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about punishment. It was about ending the game. So I said, not yet. But we go public. That evening, I met with my lawyer. We crafted a public statement, concise, professional, factual, no adjectives, just data, dates, actions, confirmed outcomes. We cited the forged title transfer, unauthorized financial access, and recent slander. We uploaded it to a neutral platform, then linked it via a personal post. When someone uses silence to rewrite history, sometimes the only response is truth. Here's mine. The post didn't go viral. It reached a wide audience quickly. By midnight, over 11,000 views, hundreds of comments. Not all supportive, but enough. Enough for the balance to shift. Enough to stop their narrative in its tracks. The misunderstandings began to surface. The next morning, the CPA messaged me. They've gone quiet. At 11:17 a.m., I got a call from a private number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my mom. Her voice was soft, small. We didn't know it would go this far. Please call me. I didn't. Instead, I sent the final letter through my attorney, a cease and desist for online defamation, and a formal release. All past support terminated. Any further interaction to be filtered through legal counsel only. I attached one final clause. Your silence is now required, not requested. That afternoon, my sister deleted half her posts. My dad took down his profile. My mom blocked me. I didn't care. I wasn't looking for reconciliation. I was just making sure the truth had a louder voice than their fiction. And for the first time in years, it did. They came one last time. No shouting, no crying, no fake apologies, just Mom standing alone outside the gate holding a photo album like it was some kind of peace offering. She buzzed once, then waited. Emma asked, "Want me to handle it?" "No," I said. "This one's mine." I stepped out and didn't open the gate, just stood on the porch, arms crossed. Mom looked smaller than I remembered, older, but the album in her hands. An attempt to reconnect, masked in memories. "We were wrong," she said. "But you made it cruel." I didn't speak. She opened the album, turned it toward the camera like I'd melt at the sight of baby pictures. "You were always the quiet one, the good one." "That's why you thought I'd never leave," I replied. Her lips tightened. "We just want things back. They were never yours to begin with." "Mike," she tried again, but I cut her off. Calm, final. "I didn't leave because of a house, her money. I left because you never saw me, just what I could give." She blinked, just once. "So that's it." I nodded. "You didn't lose the dinner. I've stepped away to protect my peace." Then I turned and walked back inside, left her standing there with an album full of memories she used like currency, and this time I didn't look back.